Welcome, Conquering Squad. I am Conquering with Calandra, and I'm so excited about bringing this new episode to you today. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And for the ones who's already subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Today we have with us Jeremy Holman.
That's close. That's good.
On this show today. I've been knowing Jeremy for 10 years now.
Yeah, pushing it.
Yes. And Jeremy has been a very inspirational person in my life, been a mentor, a health coach, and just been very supportive through my health journey. So Jeremy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from?
I'm from Durham, North Carolina. I'm born and raised. I now live in Medford with my family, my wife, 3 kids. I'm a high school teacher. I teach CTE programs, but in my off time, my main time, I like to work with people, helping them to get on track with getting their health right. And I want them to know that it's not necessarily a mountain to climb. It's easier than you think, and here's a few tips, a few nuggets to use that you already didn't know you had, and you can use it to your advantage. Not too dissimilar when I work with you. That is something that you can use to be inspiration to yourself and others, but just, again, helping people to realize that they're closer than they think.
Wow, great. So we're going to dive in a few questions with you today. Can you describe Crohn's disease? Give us the definition or what it means to you.
All right, in short, it is a inflammation of anywhere in your GI tract. Mine specifically was in my large intestines. And it's caused by, I guess, a weakened immune system. Maybe it's onset by stress, a particular event. But once you have it, you become even more sensitive. And it could be anything from your environment to things you eat. And you actually can pass it down through, your genes, that sensitivity. And it can be super severe, and it can just be super mild, depending on who you are, how old you are, and your particular lifestyle. That was something I was diagnosed with in 2006. I didn't really know and understand it until many years later. And it wasn't until then that I realized, okay, the typical way that you deal with this is not the only way you can deal with this. And that's really where my journey began, with not only healing myself, but also working with other people.
Okay, wow. So tell us a little bit about your mental state whenever you was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. How did that affect you?
Oh yeah, so in 2006, that's a year later, I graduated college in 2005. I was running track, top of my game, feeling like a super person, right? I'm a superhero. And then a year later, really before then, I was hospitalized, just crazy pains in my side. And I remember it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to call my father to come take me to the hospital. I was on the bathroom floor. I couldn't get up. And I'm just spasming, and it's just getting worse. And to save the gory details, I was like, man, I got to go. Something's not working. Something's not right. And that's when they ran all these tests in the hospital for more than a week. And they ran all these batteries of tests. And they said, look, you don't have this. We don't know what this is. But according to these symptoms and what we've seen from all these tests and exams, it's looking like it's Crohn's disease. And so that's I've never been sick like that in my life, never been in the hospital or anything, to now I'm worst case scenario. And so they're telling me all these things, and in hindsight, I should have known there were some red flags with my care moving forward, but it's all new to me. I'm in my early 20s, so I don't know anything other than what they give me. And so I remember my last day in the hospital, I'm like, okay, so what do I do? And the individual that was working with me said, okay, hang on real quick. I'm going to send you something home to learn more about this. And I could hear the copy machine going off, or whatever it was printing machine. And she came out and handed me like a little leaflet, a little few pages of information. I'm like, okay, so this is it. This is my life now, right? And so scary is not the word. It's something worse than scary, because it's like, wow, I'm no longer me.
Wow.
I'm no longer the person that people knew I was, and all these things. So it's a whole different ball game, and to say the least, it was scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with that being said, just everyone take notes of the symptoms and signs. Make sure you listen to your body, and that way you'll know, like, yes, I might need to go to the hospital and get checked. So with that, with Crohn's disease, I know you stated that you did some things towards researching. How was the researching part of that, trying to
So
get understanding?
So that was the part where it was. I mean, you talk about an adventure, a journey, scariness, success. I mean, it's like 2 steps forwards, 1 step back. So it was really trial and error because
Okay.
I had gotten to the point where I got stable. So a few years in, they had me on this medication called Remicade, and Remicade is essentially going to suppress your immune system, so that way you're not really getting these attacks or these spasms or flare-ups, as they call them. And when I was on it, I'm like, man, I got my life back, right? This is pretty awesome. I don't feel anything. I can eat whatever. I can do whatever. I'm fine. But they give you the information. They give you all the information, not just this is the sunshine, the best case scenario. This is also the fine print. So the other side of that is, all right, the longer you're on this, these are the potential side effects. This is what could happen when you're in your 30s and 40s. You know, I'm there now. And so I'm like, oh, this is a double-edged sword. I'm feeling great. I got my life back. I'm back to Jeremy. But it's the cost and then the price, right?
Right, right.
So the price was what it was up front. The cost was you can get some years back, right? So I'm like, I don't know if I really want this cost. I don't want to pay this price long term. So I'm on this medication. I'm feeling fine. I say, you know what? I was trained, like so many people are trained to think this is how it's going to be. There is no extra questions to ask. They've all been answered. You're going to have this. You're going to have to deal with this. I just happen to think, is it possible to get over this? And this is me researching. How do you accept this and work with it versus me, how do you get through it? Then I said, who has dealt with this or who has overcome this? And I feel like, wow, if there is an answer, there's a question that precedes it. So I had to ask a better question. The better question was, who has beat this? Who has overcome this? How do you beat this? And that's when the aha moment came. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a way out. So I didn't just immediately stop taking medication. I had to plan my exit strategy.
Right.
So I said, all right. And every time I would talk to my doctor, well, let me give you some background story, sorry.
Okay.
So with my research, my father always encouraged me. He said, Jeremy, you're already paying for the visit. You know, your insurance is there. You're paying for it. You're already here.
Right.
So go ahead and get as much information as you can. If you have a question, why not? You're already here. That's what they do. So I said, all right. Every time I went to the doctor, I asked for every copy that y'all have, that y'all looking at, I want a copy too.
Right.
And they were at first a little thrown off, like, oh, okay, all right, just give me a second. And so eventually it became the norm. All right, Mr. Holman, I have this for you. I know you're going to ask for it. And what I would do is I would study every last line. Why is this a little high? Why is this a little low? What could cause it to be a little high? What could cause it to be a little low? And I had to slowly figure out, say, what are some things that always bother me? All right, why was that bothering me? What are some things that preceded my flare-up?
Right.
Was it food? Was it stress? Was it this? I mean, this is years in the making. But every month, every 2 weeks, every doctor's visit, I had to make a note. And so condensing 4 or 5 years of me doing this, I saw some correlation.
Right.
I was like, all right. So one, I'm not the same person in December as I am in July. Check. I noticed that when I eat certain things within so many hours, I'm feeling this way. Check. All right, so what I did was, all right, everybody out. All food, all routine, all people, all drinks, all anything, everybody out. Because I don't know if it's both y'all, just one of you, somebody hit me in the head. I don't know who it was. Everybody get out. So I said, all right, let me figure this thing out. Let me try one food at a time. Let me try 1 hour at a time. Let me drink this. Let me sleep here. I mean, this is meticulous. I had nothing else to do but be stressed and worried anyway.
Right.
So let me get my money's worth. So, and I kept all this as logs and everything. And I'm like, all right, so I got a little pattern here. So even when I was on the medication, I could still get a flare-up. So I was like, all right, I noticed some things. One, genetically, I'm already allergic to certain things. I didn't really know it. So my mom and my dad are both sinusy. And so we get a cold or something or anything under a fan, whatever it may be, going from hot to cold, my sinuses act up. I noticed that when I eat bread, like wheat and stuff, it acts up even more. When I was in high school and in middle school, it was just a way of life. That was just, hey, this is what it was. But I noticed those correlations. I wouldn't pay attention to it before. I thought, hey, just who I am. Same thing with dairy. I was always bad with dairy as a kid. I just dealt with it because I love mac and cheese. Who doesn't, right?
Right.
And a good sandwich. So as I got older, those things became more sensitive, right? So I'm like, all right, when I eat this, I feel this way. Now I know, no, no, no. So I found out the first two things I eliminated was wheat and dairy from my diet. And I noticed a huge difference almost immediately, even just my sleep, my joints, a would-be flare-up.
Right.
So then I could piece together months before I was hospitalized. This is '05, end of '05, beginning of '06. Didn't even notice what it was. So you're right, the symptoms were there.
Right.
And I didn't know until hindsight, wow, all this time, this has been sitting in my body and it just needed stress or it needed change or it needed a catalyst or the last straw in the camel's back.
Right.
And so when all those things came together in retrospect, it made sense. And then I could say, wait, my mom deals with this. I have a twin brother. My twin brother deals with this. So everything made sense. So yes, it was frustrating, but it was liberating because it was no longer suffering. Suffering comes into not knowing.
Right.
I can tell you all day long, if I break my leg, and I broke my ankle before, my doctor says, hey, 6 to 8 weeks, you're fine. I'm not suffering. It's painful.
Right.
It's uncomfortable, but I have a set time when I'm back to me. Imagine you wake up and your ankle's hurting. You don't know why. You don't know for how long. That's suffering. You don't know when.
Yeah.
So I could put a time stamp and a reason behind what I was dealing with my ailments. So I took all that in retrospect and I said, all right, moving forward, how do I get better? How do I strengthen? And I said, all right, so I'll tell you what. One of the aha moments was I only have a flare up after something has happened.
Right.
Right? That's basic math, one and one. So rather than me figuring out what's this equation here, let me go back into these numbers, change the equation, get a different answer.
Right.
So I said, all right, let me just eliminate. This is when I began to understand what fasting was. So I said, let me fast for a little while until my system has nothing to react to. Ain't nothing in my system, ain't no flare up.
Right.
So I said, but I can't go around not eating. That's not smart. I got a job, I gotta maintain myself. So that's when I said, all right, let me just try this one food first. I can feel it. Nope, that's out the window. Never again. I can try this other food. That works. So okay, that's you in the house, you on the list.
Right.
You can get in. So I did that month after month, and I correlated that with seasons, with my activities, my routine, my stress level, my hydration level, like everything that I work with people now.
Right.
They don't got to take 5 years to do this. I can tell them day one, if you have any ailment, and it's really any sickness is going to boil down to just 2 or 3 things anyway.
Right.
Inflammation, poor circulation, stress, malnourishment. It's going to be in that box. You fix those things, 9 times out of 10, your ailment is going to be minimized, if not going away. I don't have to be a doctor to tell you that.
Right.
I don't got to be a meteorologist to tell you it's raining outside. I can look out the window.
Right.
So when I did that, I said, all right, I'm getting some real gains to that. And so 2 years out, and I'm married, I got kids. My wife's got her husband back. She's like, Jeremy, you're on this medication. It's working. Why would you mess with that? I got you. You were not going back and forth to the hospital because I tried to get off medication before.
Right.
Mistake. Huge mistake. I was getting sick again. I was back in the hospital. I thought I made a mistake, and I would get back on it. Then I would get back on. So I said, all right, something's not right. Let me figure this thing out. So I got to the point where I said, all right, I've got a good routine. I've got a hold on this. Let me now try it for real this time and see if it works. And that was the last time. And since then, I've been here. And I've been working with other people. And I've had hiccups every now and then. But I said, well, you know what? That's part of it. If I'm gonna do this, I've got to learn how to also take those knocks, take those falls, and get back up and be just fine. Right. And so we're talking about, and that was maybe a couple years before I met you.
Wow.
So that was fresh.
Wow.
I was like in it. And so when I met you, it was perfect timing of I was still in it. I was still like under the radar, like, all right, this is working through seasons now,
right.
through hiccups now. And it's no longer hiccups. I see it coming. I can avoid it.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So that's very, very important, like what you were saying. Sometimes you may be stressed going through your health situation, but you got to take a moment and step back and say, wait a minute. Let me dissect this thing and really see what's going on. And when you stated about with the medication, it's good to educate yourself about the medication, knowing the side effects, knowing what's going to happen if I'm taking certain medications for a long period of time. So that way you're aware of that as well to kind of sense out the symptoms that's going on in your body. So that is a great point to take away to make sure you understand what's going on, regardless of how you may be feeling mentally, to kind of help yourself out. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about your diet. I know when we had our conversations, we talked about diet. What are you consuming? What are you feeding your body? Can you tell us a little bit about your diet during the process?
Okay. So one of the things I had to realize, not just with myself, but working with other people, is I can set my own parameters with discipline, but I can't have that same expectation for everybody else, especially if they're just starting off. So, I had some trial and error. I scared some people away before. I can't do this, I can't do that, and then I never hear from them again. So I had to realize, as human creatures, we're meant to do things. We're created to do. So just like a little child, you can't tell them no. They're trying to do something.
Right.
So teach them what to do, not what to stop doing. So the process was, all right, this is how I came up with the principles of health and wellness. So one of the things that I do eat are only things that are alkaline and electric. You'll hear those terms a lot. The pH scale goes from 0 to 14. Right at 7 is neutral. Anything above 7 is alkaline. Anything below 7 is acidic. So foods that are alkaline-based foods are thumbs up. So things that don't have parents. I say anything that's got a root to the fruit, you're fine with it. But also in moderation and also in proper combination. So one of the first things I had to learn about eating foods is food combination. That's the magic in eating healthy. You can still have healthy foods and have a poor combination, have a bad reaction, and be frustrated. Like, man, I ate the right things. What happened? So what happens is proteins and vegetables are fine. Starches should only be eating with other starches if you're going to eat them. I know some people out there like, you shouldn't eat this at all. I say, okay, yeah. Step one, day one.
Right.
You're not in year 5, year 6. That's different. Step one, day one, you're trying to build some momentum and you're teaching them along the way. So what I eat now is not what I would tell someone to start with, because I know psychologically that's not where they are. I'm not going to teach my son, who's now 8 years old, how to drive a car. Well, let's ride a bike first, right? Let's run, get a skateboard, whatever. Let's get there first, and then when he's able to take that on, then we'll go there. So from day one, I would say, all right, hydrate first.
Okay.
And my wife would tell you, the only thing I typically consume is going to be water. My body is 70, 80% water, including interstitial fluid. That's what it needs. So if I'm going to do this right, let me start being hydrated. There isn't a supplement or food in the world that's going to help you if you're not properly hydrated. I don't care what it is.
Right.
And so if you're hydrated, you're in the right place because your body can now have proper circulation, which is the second thing. If you're not moving, and movement is life.
Right.
I always give the anecdote. You watch Discovery Channel, that little gazelle, let it stop moving for 20 minutes. And that lion, that's somebody's lunch.
Right.
Snack, dinner, everything. So movement is life. I don't have to be an expert at being out in the wild to know that if I come across a waterfall versus a stagnant pool of water, which one I'm drinking from, which one you drinking from? That waterfall isn't moving.
Right, it's moving.
So movement is like, hold your breath long enough, you're going to find out the hard way. So proper hydration, proper circulation, and move is good mentally, and it's helping your body do some things. The second thing I had to learn was, aside from food combination, and I'll go through that in a little bit, aside from that is also timing. So when you get up in the morning, and you eat breakfast, it's called break fast because you fasted, you're sleeping, you're not eating anything at all.
Right.
Your first meal of the day shouldn't be something laden with sugars, salt, preservatives, everything else, because your body is not up yet.
Right.
You don't get out of bed and start sprinting, do you?
No.
No, you got to stretch, get yourself moving and
Right.
everything. So when you get up, you want to get yourself flowing. Drink that water, flush yourself out, wake your system up. Beyond that, your breakfast should be something that's going to provide you enough energy and support your mind waking up for the next few hours. So you want to eat something that's like you. If I am the majority of fluids, right? If I'm the majority of pure minerals and vitamins, I should eat something that's like me. So that's fruit, right? Higher in the tree, the better. It's electric, it's alkaline. So I should eat something that's fluid, that's going to help flush my system and get anything out of me. Don't throw your trash out for a little while and see what happens in your house.
Right.
You're going to smell it, you're going to see it. Your body is constantly rejuvenating itself, but it's getting rid of waste.
Right.
Guess what happens if that waste is not eliminated? What do you think is going to happen? That's what sickness is. It's the accumulation of waste, which then causes inflammation, which then causes something else and something else. A lot of times our symptoms are not the main symptom. It's not the problem. It's the second and third remove from the actual issue. And a lot of times it's just the waste. So if you're not hydrated, you're not moving, you're asking for trouble. So what I eat includes things that are like me. it's fluid driven, it's properly hydrated, it's nourishing, it's got the vitamins I need. If you don't know what to eat, when you look down your plate, you should see at least 3 vibrant colors. It'll take me all day to going through every last food.
Right.
But you're not colorblind. You can look down and say, if I don't see vibrant colors, the standard American diet, sad, it's called the brown diet. Everything's fried and dyed. Everything is or deep fried or cooked to death. Even the greens are brown.
Right.
The burger's brown, the bun's brown, the cheese is brown. Everything is brown. So where's the nutrition come from? I look out and I see vibrant life. I'm seeing vibrant colors. That's the greens, the reds, the yellows, right? Even the blues and the purples. That's life. And the more variety you have, the more likely you're going to get the full spectrum of nutrients that you need. So if you do nothing else but say, all right, my rule of thumb is, let me make sure I'm hydrated, and my plate needs to be a rainbow. Now look down, I should see a vibrant color. If I do just that, I'm going to be okay. And then we can start there. The second thing is with the timing is that we can't be eating at 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
The body is trying to, when you're sleeping at night, your body is repairing, all right? So you ever wake up tired? That's because your body didn't really slept. Your body spend all your energy breaking down food instead of resting. So you might be asleep for 8 hours, but you weren't resting. You weren't really repairing yourself.
Right.
You were spending extra energy you don't have. So you should be waking up feeling energized and refreshed. So the timing of it all, so I'm eating properly. My biggest meal should be lunch because it's the hottest part of the day. It's the most active part of the day. I have time to break that down. Supper or dinner should be about an hour or 2 before sunset, no matter what the season is. So, and it's a small meal, and then your body can actually shut down, prepare for sleep, and it can use what you ate earlier today to help repair that body. You wake up rested because you actually rested. Your body's not doing anything. So that's part of it. I would say it's easier for me to say what to avoid than what to eat. I would say avoid dairy, avoid wheat, and if you can, your first meal, avoid some kind of flesh. Like avoid that for your first meal of the day. Just to give your system a chance to work out. And this is the why behind it. And this is what we do in my research. It's fine to tell people these things,
Right.
but I'm into educating you. If I never ever see you again, you should at least have something, all right, I can explain what I'm doing here.
Right.
So meat takes anywhere from 3 to almost 6, 7 hours to digest or move through your system. And that's just meat for that one meal. You see where I'm going with this, right? Here goes the equation. Imagine eating that meat now with a starch. Well, here we go. Protein takes the most time and energy, but starch is a sugar. Body is going to digest sugars first because that's the energy, that's what's going to go into the blood. So guess what it's doing while it's processing that starch? It's not digesting the meat. So it's just sitting putrid in your body. So now that meat is going to, it's just sitting there. You know what meat does? It's going to be rotten. So, and that's one meal, one setting.
Right.
People eat meat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. And people don't like to talk about it, but you got to take your waste out. How often are you eliminating? If you're not eliminating as often as you're eating, guess what's happening? Every 2 win is 1 out. I got 1 left over.
Right.
Guess what's happening at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year? And that's if no stress happens. If I don't get a cold, if I don't have any other stressors, that's perfect. So you can imagine when you have the stressors or the medications or an event in life, right? Plus all this, and it's the cold and flu season,
Right.
and you're not moving, and you're fussing with somebody. Guess what happened? Right. So the idea is, how can I be like what I'm made of? Think about that. How can I be like, eat like, drink like, think like what I am made of? I'm eating things that are offending me. Imagine you invite somebody over to your house and he's stomping on your couch and your table.
Right.
You kick them out,
Right.
among other things, probably.
Right.
You kick them out. But the food is doing that to us in the inside.
In the
But we
inside.
invite them on in. Come on, deep fried. Let's
Right.
go, deep fried. Dairy, every this. It don't make any sense.
Right.
So the idea is not to feel bad about it. What can we do about it? This is the perfect season to do something about it because it's hot. We're sweating, we're circulating, we're moving things around. And it's a good time. The days are long. Great time to build some momentum up going into the next season. I mean, it's June. It's the perfect time to do that. So if you can start with some type of melons, fruits, especially citrus fruits, those are the best way to do it. I wouldn't even start fasting. People all talk about I'm gonna do a fast, I'm gonna do a cleanse, and then they end up hurting themselves. Well, you can't. It's too much too soon. You know, my first principle is balance. You know,
Right.
it's either too much or not enough. So how can I make sure I'm right at that balance point? So if you're going to start getting on a health kick, before you do anything else, start hydrating first. Because if you want to get rid of the toxins, water is the universal solvent and solution, right? If you want to clean anything, you need some water first, and then whatever other agent you can put in it. Would you take an air shower or an air bath?
Right.
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 Somebody look at you like, well, come on, I thought you was getting there bathing yourself.
Right.
So I'm using air. It don't work.
Right. It don't
So
work.
you want to hydrate yourself, pull in as much water as you can. So when it's time to flush, it's got a good stream to follow, right?
Oh, wow.
So when you do that, it's a lot easier. And along with hydrating, you want to make sure that you're eliminating the dairy. I know we have a lot of misinformation about dairy. Dairy is an acidic beverage, right? The only creatures on earth that drink milk are babies, right?
Right.
Call it what you want. And they say it has vitamin D and calcium in it, but so does a lot of leafy greens. So does the sun. We get vitamin D 15 minutes out in the sun, right? That beautiful melanin. So we can get the same things we need without sacrificing or risking those things. You can tell me right now that if you have 100 people drinking milk, if 50 of them stop drinking milk, they're going to be worse off than the people continue to. No, it's not going to work. Like, especially with black people, it's not going to work like that. But it's our culture. It's our lifestyle. It's our routine. We're not used to it. You do anything for years and years and years, it's psychological now.
Right.
So the biggest hurdle really isn't, because anyone can just, all right, I can drink some water the rest of the week. I'm off this food the rest of the week. Fine, physically. But where are you up here? So you have to relearn yourself, your family. I know my wife, we got to the point where it's like, all right, she said, Jeremy, we ain't going to have 2 grocery bills. We're just going to do what you're doing. And so she had things that she was dealing with. And so when she started doing what I was doing, she's like, well, I've been doing this for years, since I was a teenager. And in months, I'm seeing relief. Months.
Wow.
Things I've been dealing with for years. And that wasn't even part of the plan. It just happened to be that way. So it's like, all right, there's something to this. And it's an invitation, really. And everyone's got to start somewhere. But no matter where you start with hydration, understanding food combination, and understanding timing, because those 3 things are at work every day, all year. And if you get those things in order, whatever lifestyle you have is going to work. Because my lifestyle isn't yours. And yours isn't somebody else's. But guess what? You need to be hydrated. So do I.
Right.
You got to move. You need to understand that you can eat a whole pizza at midnight and expect to be good for the next few days, right? We're still under the same rules and regulations and principles, even if our lifestyles are different. Right. So you got to start with those 3 things.
And I think the key thing that you're saying is a lot of things you got to reprogram your mind. And I think that's the biggest thing as a culture. We got to reprogram our mind because we're used to eating all these things and just doing whatever to the body. So I think that's very important. And then go back with like your lymphatic system with the toxins. And I think that's very important. I know our research and seeing how it's good to do dry brushing to help move those toxins. So that's a big thing, is doing your research about the lymphatic system, but also learning and knowing your body.
Yes, and one of the things was I call them virtual mentors. I never met these people before, but I know all their work. And one of the things that I did was I said, all right, let me learn some people that I can lean on. When I'm having that temptation, I'm at a party or I'm on the road, ain't nothing but Taco Bell open. Let me, how do the burrito is talking to me. So how do I get through that, right? So I learned, okay, who can I lean on? And so if I'm having a moment I can't sleep, I can lean on their information. I can make it make sense. Who else is dealing with this local? And now this is, you talking about when I first, this is about 18 years ago. Life wasn't what it is now. Social media wasn't it is. Like apps did not exist like they did, what they could do now, like they didn't have then. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, I can get these books. In fact, I can remember, here we go, Barnes and Noble.
Yep.
I went to McDonald's on the way. I didn't want to study on an empty stomach. I had 2 double cheeseburgers and a fry and a milkshake. That was like my personal combo. That was it. I ate one of the burgers, went in, and I came across a book called Things They Don't Want You to Know About by Kevin Trudeau. I'm not plugging it in, I'm just telling you that's really what happened. And I read about 4 or 5 chapters, and I just was like a deer in the headlights, like, no way. I went out in my car, I threw my meal away. I threw it away. I said, there's no way in good conscience I can finish this meal after reading that. Jordan Rubin, he's an individual I studied before I got off because he had Crohn's as well. And he got off of it completely. his book called The Maker's Diet. In fact, he's the inspiration behind the brand Garden of Life.
Right.
You see that vitamin shop everywhere. And so reading these things about how to strengthen your gut microbiome, right? How to take probiotics, the benefit of those. You're talking about the interstitial fluid and our lymphatic fluid. So our heart beats and pushes our blood. Our lymphatic system doesn't.
Right.
So things like yoga, like I thought yoga was just some tree-hugging lifestyle for vegans. That made no sense.
Right.
I get it now. It's stretching. It's moving that fluid. Just like if you get an itch, you get a histamine, it makes you scratch it so you can move that toxin out. So proper stretching and moving, all that helps to move that fluid that otherwise is just sitting there. So one of the most unhealthy things you can do is just sit in one spot for hours and hours and hours. Get up and stretch. Like you don't have to be an Olympian. Just go, just move, walk for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, stretch, rub your joints, whatever it may be. You know how good you feel after a massage.
Oh, yeah.
But it makes sense. We get a massage, they say drink some water. Why? Because they've released those toxins. So why can't I do this at home? So one of the things that my wife used to do, what she and I both do when we go out, if we find a meal that we like, so instead of paying for this, let's try to recreate it at home. Let's take a meal that I like that's unhealthy, but what's the healthy version of it? Those are called crossover meals. That's how you help people really get there, because not everybody's just gonna go from 0 to 100. So we love bread. Black folks love bread.
Oh, yeah.
You can't escape it. You might look over your shoulder and see some bread. But there's more. So bread is what it is, but what it's made of doesn't have to be it.
Right.
So I can have bread that's made of sprouted grains or spelt flour or brown rice and quinoa, and the list goes on. I can have bread made from something that's not going to irritate my body, it's going to complement me. I can have bread in different forms. In fact, it can be flat bread, it can be oatmeal raisin bread, whatever it may be. It doesn't have the things that it's going to irritate my body or my nose or my skin or whatever it may be. We love dairy. Come on. Now, years ago, that is not what it is now. Years ago, dairy was, the imitation dairy was, it tastes like imitation dairy. Now they're there. But one thing that I talked to with a friend of mine, back when I used to work with Young Life Ministries, and some of the younger guys who wanted to lose some weight. He was like, "Man, how can I get healthy, man? I'm not really looking for no bitch body. I just want to get healthy because I'm in my 20s, but I want to be able to see my 30s." And that was a real conversation. And so I said, "Look, man, don't try to do it all at once, but find something that you can just sink your teeth into, right? Just find something to build some momentum. And just give it a week. Like, man, if it takes 9 months for a baby to be created, give yourself 9 months, at least 9 months, and just work with yourself in whatever season you're in. Start with one thing and then go to the next thing. And don't just go to the store and scratch your head. Make a plan.
Yeah.
Just make a plan. Think about it. What can I do? What can I afford? Everyone thinks health food is expensive, but it's not.
Right.
If you think about what your body actually needs to eat versus what we actually do, guess why we eat so much? Because our body ain't been fed in the first place. It makes sense I should crush 2 bags of chips, a couple of hot dogs, pizzas, because they ain't nourishing my body. My body's like, you got all this substance in here, but ain't no nourishment. Try to eat 20 apples. Dare you. You be full after 10. Because your body's like, we're good, check, we don't need it anymore. We've got everything we need from this apple. You do that with chips or what are these kids eating Takis now and candy and stuff, you're still hungry because your body's never been nutritionally fed. So I told him, like, look, man, don't worry about the calories. Don't worry about the weight, by the numbers. Just get healthy and everything else will happen as it's supposed to do because it needed to happen here first. So a lot of times when you're doing that, just understand that, yes, we're focused on our body, but focus on what's in here driving that body first, and I guarantee everything else will fall in place.
Wow. So that's one thing, you need to go in it with a plan.
Absolutely.
Make sure you have a plan in place for what your body needs. So can you tell us a little bit about how is life now?
So life now is awesome. I'm sticking with it, and I'll be honest with you. You know, you might talk to people who do health and wellness, and they'll never ever tell you to have an off day.
Right.
I'm human. I'm gonna have an off day. On my best day, I'm gonna have an off day. What do you do then? Because I'm gonna meet more people with more off days than not.
Right.
So they need to hear this. Well, if you have an off day, what you should do is this. Let's say I'm invited to a cookout. I'm like, oh, I already know it's gonna be. There's gonna be some fried fish there. Mama gonna make this baked mac and cheese. Oh, it's gonna be there. All right. So Going in, you already might know this. And I know I'm speaking to somebody right now.
Right.
What you do after that is just as important. If you ride a bike and you fall off, you skin your knee, you mend it, you do what you got to do. You don't go in there and start jumping in the parking lot again. You just take your time, get back on. Okay, so if you're going to have an off day or even a planned off day, people have those quote-unquote cheat days, make it isolated. It's nothing wrong with an isolated event, whether it's by chance or just by weakness or by circumstance. It's fine to have a single event. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, you should be able to handle a single event. If I'm a boxer, I should be able to handle a jab, a punch in the face, if I'm training right.
Right.
So if you've had an off day, remember, 3 principles: proper hydration, circulation, and timing. It still applies. On your worst day, it still applies. On your best day, it still applies. So if you looked up and said, man, I can't believe I was at the club with the homies and we did this and did that. Okay, next day, take a little longer for your first meal. Make sure it's cleaner. Get more hydration. Try your best to sweat. Work that. As soon as it can get out of your body, the better you'll start feeling. Don't soak in it. Just get it out your body and go from there. If it takes you a week or something, fine. That's the plan. You don't freak out about it. You just handle your business. But that's what I'm saying. People don't have that plan. They don't understand how to, take the next steps after something has happened. You might get a cold. All right, what happens after a cold? Fine. Handle the event. Make a plan. Get on out of there. It's okay, but guess what? You're gonna stay in it longer if you're not hydrated, if you are stressing, if you're not getting proper rest, and you double up, have another off day. What are we doing here? So put it in your mind that, okay, I can call somebody, and the worst thing you can do is do it alone. The worst thing you can do, tell somebody about it. If you're married, tell your spouse. If you have a relationship, you have your best friends, your siblings, somebody, tell somebody about it. So it's a part of the conversation. We're not having enough regular conversations. Because we might have a conversation about it, and you might not do it today, but you might have an opportunity in a month and say, you know what, I've been talking about this. Let me get up on it. You have it there. It's got some momentum. And you can say, you know what, all right, starting next week, this is what I'm going to do. So today, I'm going to just not eat past 8. And then 2 days later, not eat past 7:30. Like, it's baby steps, it's stepping stones, right? Tell somebody about it. Write it down on a sticky note. And the cool thing about it now, we have apps for days.
Oh, yes.
We got calendars, we got reminders, we have this. The more we put it out there, the more it's going to tell us back again. So much. I brought my notebook here because there's literally stuff in there that I remember sending you by email. That's 10 plus years old. That days now where I really wouldn't have the energy. If I had to start over now, I wouldn't have that same energy. But I had time and energy there. I had motivation there. So I have things that are reminding me constantly that I can put on my fridge, my phone, whatever it may be that reminds me, all right, get this in your body. Go ahead and do this. If you do a cleanse, research on who's been doing cleanse. And nowadays there's so much information out there.
It is.
It's harder to get it wrong.
Right.
It's really harder to get it wrong nowadays because everyone wants that. They want to have a vibrant lifestyle. We ain't got to be perfect. We just want to be better.
Right.
Right. And that's easier now because we're talking about. We have those conversations. We're looking up. Grocery stores are more viable when it comes to what they offer now. There are more options now.
Right.
They didn't have these options 15, 20 years ago. And if they did, it was few and far. It was only Whole Foods. You go to Whole Foods and spend $20 on an apple. That was your options. Now there's some real options out there where you can go out there and do some damage in a good way. And I will say, create a budget for it.
Okay.
Create a budget for it. The same way that you have a budget for that fast food menu or some shoes or a vacation, create a health and wellness budget, right? Make that your bank account because you really are investing in yourself. Right. Think about it like this. How much am I paying for insurance every month? And yet I'm also paying for my sickness every month. That don't make no sense. Would you take your car to the shop and then immediately start doing donuts in the parking lot?
Right.
No, you're going to be, in fact, most people after an accident typically drive real cool. Let me get through this morning, this week. Let me just not have anything happen to my car again. Right. So if you're going to do that, also take the necessary steps beyond that, so you have some momentum going.
Right. So there's no excuse. No excuses. No excuses. Yeah. Wow, we have received a lot of great nuggets, and I know everyone is going to have to replay everything because it's so much information. Just like you say with your diet, first thing in the morning, you got to get up and hydrate yourself.
Absolutely.
Then have fruits, but lunch should be your biggest meal.
If it's going to be whatever it is. And I'll always I'm always told, like, Jeremy, don't tell people how to have a cheat meal, whatever. I'm like, no, you need to know this because not everybody, one, has access to the right things. Not everybody has the finances to go out and get the proper herbs.
Right.
And I'll just say this for herbs and supplements.
Yeah.
There's no herb or supplement that can substitute a proper diet. It does not.
Right.
It's not going to exist. No, don't ever have that mindset. It's there to complement you. I have students sometimes who are athletes, right? They're walking around just as a snack drinking Gatorade. I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing?
Right.
He said, yeah, it's a health drink, man. It's Gatorade. It's got electrolytes, Mr. Holman. It's got electrolyte. I'm thinking to myself, that's clever marketing. That's clever marketing right there. If you're not losing it, what are you drinking it for? It's the exact opposite now. If you're sweating and stuff, that's fine. So think about the same way for supplements and vitamins and minerals and herbs. If your body is not properly conditioned to take on those herbs, because herbs are going to mimic what your body does naturally per organ.
Right.
So if you're taking something to cleanse your liver, you're not properly hydrated, it's going to now cleanse your liver at a higher rate than it's going to clean your blood. Guess what? You're dumping more toxins in a river that's not moving. You're gonna get sick. There's this, if you look up this book, and it might be an article, but I think it's a book, and it's called Put Your Cleanse in Order. So most of the times, like I said before, somebody might think I'm gonna cleanse my liver. I've been drinking this weekend. I wanna get all this out, but the stream to eliminate is blocked up.
Right.
So you're really gonna release more toxins, which could cause you to make you sicker. You might say, man, them herbs didn't work. I just got sick. Well, okay, gotta put it in order.
Right.
So if you work backwards, your colon should be cleansed first. If that's the elimination tunnel, if that's not open, why are you dumping more in?
Right.
Then you go back out to your kidneys and adrenal glands. Let's go back up. Then we talk about our liver, then our spleen. Then we can do things like our lungs. So we're just working your way up. You're putting that cleanse in order so when you're finally releasing those toxins at a slight rate, you're not just doing it all at once. In fact, most herbs you take, we're talking about anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You don't just take them like a vitamin,
Right.
or just every day all year long. Because what you're doing is you're toning your organs, or you're cleansing those organs to work properly, but you don't want to have so much of that, hormone mimic that the organ now says, well, this is in the bloodstream, I don't need to work. You don't need to do that. So your organs need to take the reins and work properly, and you should know yourself enough to say, all right, how do I feel without taking anything? That's my real marker. Do I feel good now? And am I still lingering with some things? And some herbs don't need to be taken all year long. They're just seasonal or as needed, and some you can take all year long. So knowing the difference with those. So for example, you might have heard of sea moss. You might have heard of mullein. You might have heard of burdock root, dandelion. You may have heard of gotu kola. These are things that are what they call adaptogenics. Some of them are, and so what it is, if your body is in need of more rest and relaxation, it'll give you that complement. If your body needs to sleep more or rest through the night, it'll give you that. If you need more energy, it'll do that for you. I have a whole list of these, and to try to name them all, I feel like I'm going to forget all of them. But when you do your research, rather than me saying, hey, Mr. Holman said this, I'm going to do that. No. Do your research. And I always say it. Don't take my word for it. Know it for yourself, but start here. So if your colon is clean and clear, then that means that everything else is going to be easier. It's not going to be, backed up or blocked up or anything. Seasonally, so I do 2 cleanses a year. I do it going into the major seasons. So I do one in the fall, I do one in the spring. And I'm getting ready for winter. Why? Because it's colder, the daylight is less, and I'm going to be less mobile around more sickness. So I'm not going to eat like it's July 4th, right? I'm not going to think and rest and move and breathe like it's July 4th. I need to do something a little different. And here's the key. Everything in nature does this. Everything around us shuts it down. We still partying in January, in December. And we were like, wow, I keep getting a cold. No, the cold isn't the problem. The cold is your body trying to heal itself. So this symptom that you realize is your body dumping all that mucus. Because there are people that don't have colds. Why is that? You didn't catch a cold. You've been had it in your body. And your body said, okay, I no longer have the energy to deal with this. And guess what it's telling you to do? Sit your butt
Sit
down
down.
somewhere. That's why you're so tired. Sit your butt down somewhere. I feel icky because your body's retaining water to dilute the toxins to flush them. So if you're eating properly like you're supposed to in that season, so in the summer months, we need to be warmer so our lymphatic system is more visceral and can move. What happens when that mucus is stopped up? Can't breathe, can't do anything, can't smell nothing because it's thicker because it's colder. It can't move. Like that grease back in the day on your stove. When your mama cooking, room temperature is solid. So your lymphatic system almost the same way. When you're not mobile, when it's colder outside, it locks up. It's not moving as much. And so we're taking on more toxins that we are not sweating out anymore. It ain't hot. It's 30 degrees outside. So you should be eating things with a little more spice in it. I do something called a golden soup. It's not my own creation, but I tell you what, it might as well be. So something as simple as what they call high sulfur vegetables. This is garlic and onions. Then you also have things where you have your natural salts like celery, and cayenne pepper, turmeric, black pepper, ginger, cinnamon. All those things help promote proper circulation. And if you do this going into that season, you're ready for that winter. You're not going into winter with baggage. And it's adversely going into the summertime. You've been sitting still, less mobile. Go ahead and get yourself moving. So when the spring gets here, when that pollen gets out there, your allergies really are not necessarily allergies. It's just that your body is starting to transition and dump all that stuff from the winter. So get ahead of that and say, all right, let me get moving. What do we talk about? Hydration. Come on. Circulation. Right? And change when we eat. The timing of when we eat, that is never, ever going to change. And if you don't get that as a foundation, no matter what you're doing, it's going to be a little bit harder to move forward. So eat things that are proper in that season. So in the wintertime, it's talking about your squashes, your pumpkins, your apples, all that stuff's great stuff for the winter. More soups, more warm food. Avoid the colder drinks if you can. Drink more teas before you go to bed or when you wake up in the morning. Help get that body at a proper temperature. And same thing like in the summertime, you want to have a cooling fruit, right? So like your melons, your high citrus fruits. So those things, if you do nothing else, and again, you can look this up and come up with hundreds of food combinations and recipes and drinks and everything else, but you've got to follow those principles. So, and I keep saying principles, so there are 4 principles that I use. The first one is balance, too much or not enough. If you're ever wondering, how can I get better? Ask yourself, what am I dealing with? It's going to be one or the other. You got too much of something or not enough of something. So let's figure out the why behind that. The second is going to be the principle of clarity. How can I make sense of this? Ask yourself 3 questions. What is it? Why is it? And how do I respond? Do your research. What am I feeling? Well, that's the too much or not enough. Why am I feeling this way? What could cause my head to feel flush? I've dealt with vertigo. I've dealt with all these things. I've been through so many different ENTs, medications. Come to find out, it was a sensitivity to what they call fake salt, table salt. So I could eat something with food with high sodium in it. And most food sodium is that typical table salt, which is closer to glass than actual salt, well, the actual mineral. And so my body couldn't handle it. So my heart palpitations and my vertigo was set off by the sodium in my body. So I went and I had 0 sodium. If I saw something, if it was above maybe 200 milligrams per whole, I wouldn't even eat it. No more symptoms, no more vertigo, no more nothing. And I said, all right, had some beef jerky one day. I had to pull over because I could feel the symptoms. So I said, that's mine. May not be yours, but that's mine. I had to ask that question. What is it? Why is it? So how do I respond? If you know that's your trigger, avoid it. Stay away from it. See it coming, right? So I had to figure out my trigger, what worked for me. But that principle is everybody. The last 2 is quality. Sometimes you have the right stuff, but it ain't quality. Here we go. Cover this up. Boom. We don't drink tap water anymore because I don't trust what the government says was in it. I ain't that guy. I just know that that's better for me. If I'm looking around my sink and I see a spot on my glass, what's that spot? That ain't water. Why I gotta clean what I'm cleaning with. Don't make any sense. So I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I know that's not in here and that shouldn't be in here. So I made a decision about that. So the very last thing is timing. So what you eat and when you eat it makes just as much of an impression on what you eat and when you eat it. So right now, I shouldn't do it, but if I say I have to, let's say I have to eat a pizza today. I'm gonna eat it at 12, 1 o'clock, and I'm gonna be outside eating it. I'm sweating and I'm drinking more water with it. That right there will have a far less effect on me than me eating it at midnight and trying to go to sleep. No, you shouldn't do it.
Right.
But there is a best case scenario even for bad circumstances or even not desirable foods.
Right.
So the timing, those 4 principles right there, it's harder to teach somebody the specific herbs, when to pick them, how to use them. It's easier for me to teach those principles. Because guess what? Everybody in here are under the rule of those principles. It's a law, universal law. But you're going to use it a certain way, you're going to use it a certain way, you're going to use it a certain way. Because we all have to deal with those exact same principles. I can teach you that, and you can have way more success because where you live, what you eat, who you're around, what you do for a living, how you hydrate, when you hydrate, all has to still be there. You still need to check yourself under those principles. So under those principles, you might have a lifestyle where it's a vegan. You might have a lifestyle where it's plant-based. Right. Somebody who's an athlete can get away with a little more because they're high metabolism. If you have an office job where you really can't get out and work out that way, you better slow down. Right? So it's going to make it fit your lifestyle. I call it lifestyle nutrition. Make it work for you. So that's one of the things that we do. We're educating people to make it work for you. But understand that those principles, check yourself with those principles and make it work for you every single time.
Wow. For the ones that are listening and really taking everything in, so kind of guide them, like, I know step 1. Okay. I know we talked about, knowing the medication, make sure you research, know the signs and the symptoms of those medication. So should that be, top, number 1 of really saying, hey, I want to buckle down, I want to do this. I'm liking what I'm hearing. So kind of give everyone like a guide, like a...
Okay. Let's say you're looking at this and you're saying, all right, this is my day 1.
Okay.
So I talked about hydration. I'm going to keep talking about it. So beyond that, look up what's in your refrigerator. Like go into your refrigerator right now, your cabinets right now. Because what's going to happen is you might plan to get healthy, but the lifestyle and your environment has been created over months and years, and that's momentum. That's what they call habits. So you want to make sure that you can make a plan to slow that momentum down, but give stuff for you now and a little bit later and a little bit later. So go into your refrigerator, go into your cabinets and remove those stumbling blocks. Go ahead and remove it. This is not going to help me. That's not going to help me. Let me remove it. What do I have now? All right, I've got fruits and veggies left. I've got this, I got that left. All right, it's not perfect, but it's not what I got rid of.
Right.
That's your step 1. Step 2, make a list, a budget for that list, and figure out what can I afford, what can I do right now and for this week. Find one thing. Don't make a 10-point list. Right. My God. Find one thing and don't just do it a little bit. Master it. Look, y'all, this is a lifelong journey. We don't just get healthy and stop. We get healthy and stay healthy. Find one thing. If it's weight loss, that's your goal, fine. Do not try to lose weight. Try to get healthy. If you have high blood pressure, understand what lifestyle supports high blood pressure. It ain't but a few things that cause high blood pressure. It really isn't. It's not a whole bunch of stuff. It's a real tight niche. Understand what caused it. It's not just stress. Stress, think about if you can't breathe, you're going to feel stress. So honestly, it's sort of the latter part of it. Right. So if you understand, let me remove the things that's going to cause me the issues, and then let me get some things in my body that's going to support what I want to be. Tell somebody about it, write about it, read about it, put it on my playlist, write it down, put it on a podcast on my way to work. Put everything in your path that's only going to put you in a place that's leading you to where you want to be. That's your step 1. Sit down and be intentional about it. Remove those things that are going to harm you or hinder you, and put things in your path that are going to help support you. Even when you're sluggish, even when you're not motivated, everything else is saying, yes, let's go, let's keep going. That's your step 1.
Okay.
And I would say beyond that, I would say, don't focus. It's going to sound so funny when I say this. Don't focus on the food. Okay. Everyone's focused on, I got to eat this, I got this. Food is the symptom of your appetite. Your appetite is a reflection of your understanding. If you truly understood, not just aware, I'm aware there are birds and stuff outside, but if I understood them, if I truly understood the risk and the toxins involved in what I'm eating, then my appetite's going to follow what I want, right? And then now the food I'm eating is going to follow that appetite. So honestly, if you start with food, it's too many traps, I would say that.
Right.
But if you start with the understanding on why that food is important, how it's going to help me, truly understand it, then it's easier to pick up that fruit or that melon, or it's easier to put down that cheese and say, Lord, do I really need it?
Right.
Am I really needing this? And one thing that I get a lot of people tell me that when they start a cleanse, they get hangry, they get irritable. Well, you have a lot of toxins in your body and a lot of microbes in your body that are off-gassing, giving you these cravings. And if you let it flush, after about a week or so, those cravings will go away. It's a chemical response. It's not your body really wanting cheeseburgers. It's a chemical response. Most of the time, it's candida, it's yeast. People have it in their blood because there's so much starch in the standard American diet that it's asking for it. The actual bacteria in our body is saying, I'm hungry. Let me produce a chemical so you can feed me. Now I want something sugar. I want something sweet. I want something delicious. And that's what you're really doing. But if you understand that, then you realize, okay, I read this before. I know what this craving is. Let me drink some water. Let me breathe a little bit. Let me get a pear. Let me get an apple. Let me get an orange. Let me get a banana. Let me get some melon on me. And then that right there will subside. And eventually that will go away. And honestly, that first hump, once you start realizing, wow, I actually feel better. Whoa, this is a little different. My skin look a little better. Okay, what's that? All right. My joints don't feel so bad. Oh my God, that scale right? No, is that scale for real? This is real conversation that people have. Like, this is actually happening. Once you put yourself in a position to truly understand what your body is desiring, you have a different relationship with yourself. You have a different relationship with what's going in your body. And now you have a different outlook. Like, wow. So you're trying to tell me that subconsciously I've been battling myself? Because it doesn't make sense on paper. It doesn't make sense on paper. Why would I drive in the off lane? Why am I going backwards in this parking lot? It don't make any sense. But with proper training, you can drive, right? So with proper training, understanding, I have a relationship with myself. And guess what? My body's talking to me. I now can speak the same language my liver's speaking. I can speak the same language my lungs are speaking, my joints. They're telling me, hey, you got a little too much uric acid. Let me cut back on the meat. I got a little too much wheat. Let me cut back on that. So your body's talking to you. You're learning that language. I have a healthy relationship with it. So we're going to have a good conversation with my body. I'm going to give it what it needs. It's going to give me what I need.
Oh, wow. Okay, so once everybody go through these steps, and this will be our last question, how should they meal prep? How important is meal prepping as well?
So meal prepping, I would say, is an absolute must. Even if you feel like you can just do your thing, meal prepping, again, it's like if you are going to plan a trip, you've never been to this place before, what's the wisest thing to do? Look up directions, right? So meal prep is almost like saying, I know I might not feel it tomorrow, I might be tempted tomorrow, but if I know it's already waiting on me, I can go and get it, what I need. And I can take time to plan. I'm gonna have a little bit of fruit here, I'm gonna have some proper grains here, I'm gonna have this drink here. If it's already waiting, psychologically, that's half the battle. You're not passing any temptation, you already have it there, and you can tailor it to what you need per that event, per that season, per that day, per that week. And it's economical because you can buy it in bulk and you can make it ahead of time. And it's one of the things, when you open that fridge and see it's already there for you, you feel so good. Because like, wow, I'm investing in myself, and those are the fruits of my labor, literally and figuratively speaking. Okay.
So if you could tell everyone today how to find Jeremy, if they have any more questions or concerns.
Coach Holman 81 at Gmail. Coach Holman, Holman, Coach Holman 81 at Gmail. Just shoot me an email with any questions, any issues you may be having, just something specific I can point you in the right direction, because I can go in a lot of different directions with this. But if you have something specific, I can get you in the right state of mind. And remember, it's up here first, all right? Then your body will follow that. It's not your appetite. It's not that recipe that grandma's cooking. It's routine. So if you get into a good space and you feel like you're motivated, let me hear about that step one. Email me at coachholman81 at gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Conquering with Calandra Squad, for taking the time out to listen today. And I just thank you for the opportunity just to be here in your presence, just to hear everything that you're sharing with us today. Very valuable, and we do greatly appreciate it. So make sure you stay tuned. Always like, subscribe, And always remember, you'll never be defeated because it's already conquered. Thank you.